Hi, CSB, and happy holidays. I know that the summary of findings due date is coming up here pretty rapidly. So there were a few things I wanted to share with you to make sure that there was a complete understanding of how the form should be filled out and how we use them afterwards. So I'm going to start off with a summary of findings for the DRDP. Please make sure that all of the information at the top of the section is filled out. This includes the contractor's name, which would be your site or the classroom. So if you are doing it classroom by classroom, which you should, and then you compile all of the information on here, then you can create one from the site. The great thing about this is that you can also use this to drive your QIPs, what you're going to turn into First 5. So all of this information should be completed. Then as we go down to the first box, it says key findings from developmental profile. This is where the teachers would actually look at the classroom data, looking at what the trends are, where the children scoring lower, where they need support. They're going to look at the areas and then identify the top 2, which are the areas that they're going to focus on the most. This is where they're going to put the DRDP measure and what the key findings were. Developmentally, what do we know about the children currently enrolled in our classroom? So what does this say? What do the levels of where the children scored say about where they are developmentally? Then we're going to go to the next box. Ask what goals can we set to meet the needs of the children currently enrolled. This is your action plan. Each classroom as a staff team should come up with an action plan for each area. So area 1 and area 2. Is this going to be what materials they put out? Is this going to look at what they rotate? Is this going to look at what kind of activities they do in small group time? Or how they introduce information to the children. This could also be home connections. What kind of things are they going to ask the parents to work with the children on at home? So all of that would be in your action step. And once again, each classroom should develop this with the staff together so that they can take ownership of it. In the next section, we have the expected completion date. When should all of this in this column be finished? And then the last one is, who is going to do it? These two are really connected because this might be a couple of dates that you all check in. Like you actually might say, we're going to check in monthly to make sure that we're completing this. This could be assigned by the staff. Oh, I like science, so I'm going to really focus on some science goals that are attached to the fact that my children scored lower in this section. So all of this should be done in the classroom, then turned into the site supervisor so that you all can compile them and look at what the trends are across your site. If you are looking at infant toddler and you have 3 infant toddler classrooms, then you look at what is the site on a whole going to focus on based on the summary of findings that were turned in by the classroom staff. If you're looking at preschool and you have 4 or 5 preschool classrooms, or you only have 1, then this could be, like I said, compiled afterwards so that the site can look at what your goals are. That is then the site one is turned in to CSB. CSB is going to compile them for all of the school sites and turn in one to the state. That's why these are so important. Number 1, because this is what supports the classroom, which is why each room needs to do one for their class so that they can have buy-in. This is also important because the state looks at this information and they look at trends across board. So this summary is based on the DRDP summary of findings, the results that are given. I also want to turn to the ERS summary of findings. This, once again, the top should be completed. It should be done by classroom. It can be done in a staff meeting. It can be done during an early closure time. But the results of this should be based on exactly which ECRs you took. So if you're looking at the ITER scores, then it should be based on the results of the ITERs. If you're looking at the ECRs because you're preschool, it should be based on the results of the ECRs. So once again, the first one is the subscales and average scores. Remember, when we're looking at summary of findings, we're focusing on the areas that need the greatest support. So we want to pull at least 2 areas that need the most support. And you would write down what those subscales are. The next over are the key findings from the environmental scale. So one of the things that you want to do here is look at what did we see? What were the results? What was in my report that was given to me? Because some of you receive reports during monitoring. So look back at those. What did they say in those reports? What should I do based on the results? What should I do based on the results? What are my action steps? What am I going to put in place? If it said that I needed to rotate materials more, then how will I make sure that happens? Once again, the reason this is so important to happen at a classroom level is so that the staff have conversations about what the action steps should be so that they also have buy-in. The next area is expected completion date and persons responsible. So based on what the results are, I'm going to have action steps built in. And then I'm going to identify by when can I have this done and who is going to be responsible in the classroom for making sure that it happens. Afterwards, I start saying, well, what's my follow-up date? So if I say that this will be done April 1st, then I need to come back to this plan on April 1st and look at my follow-up and reflection. Did the changes that we made affect this goal that was set over here? Okay, so once again, this should be done by classroom, then given to the site supervisor who can work on an overall plan for the site. And I know that some of you only have one infant, toddler classroom and one preschool. So whatever is done in those cases would be the site goals. So this will be a wonderful opportunity for you all to pull these summary of findings out so that it's not just another piece of paper that had to be done. That you actually go over it and pull it up periodically. Go back to the plan. How is it affecting our children? Looking back at the DRDP plan periodically, the summary of findings, as you meet with your lead teachers and as your lead teachers meet with the staff. Let's pull this out monthly and look at it and say, okay, are we doing the things that we said we would do? Because we know how things work when we're on a class in a school site. Things can go so fast. So are we actually addressing the areas that we said we would address? Or did we kind of forget about it and go through the mundane every day? This should be a living, growing document. As you go through and pull it out, especially in those areas where you go in the follow-up and you go check back. Hey, I did try that I put in the action plan, but it actually did not work the way I thought that it would. So what can I tweak in it so that I can make sure that the children are being benefited as much as possible? All right, so I hope this helps. We will look forward to seeing your summary of findings and the results and making sure that you all receive the support you need in order to make it happen. Have a great holiday. Bye-bye.